Without shipping, there would be no online commerce. And at eBay, our shipping team works on many different aspects of shipping, from providing efficient tools and services that help eBay sellers run their businesses smoothly, things like printing labels on eBay and offering store subscribers free eBay branded shipping supplies, all the way to working on behalf of sellers by establishing and managing partnerships with the three big carriers. And joining us now is Stuart Reichenbach. He's the Senior Director of North America Shipping. Welcome, Stuart.
Hey, Griff, how are you? Thanks for having me here today.
Very happy to be here as well, and I hope that you're enjoying working from home.
You know, it's been a wonderful experience, actually. Miss being in person with the eBay colleagues day in and day out, but it's great to be home with family and eliminate a bit of a commute. Absolutely.
So tell us and our listeners a little bit about your role at eBay, what it is you do day to day, whether it's in the office or at home.
Sure. Thanks. So, as you mentioned, my responsibility is North America Shipping. My team works in Jordan Sweetnam's organization, really looking after all things that are shipping. So you talk about carrier relationships, the shipping services that they offer, and then the ones that we have on our platform, managing our labels printing platform, which many of our sellers use day in and day out, other programs that we have in place, like our global shipping platform, eBay Guaranteed Delivery. And then you also mentioned our supplies program, another one that our team manages. And so our role is really, say, both day-to-day operations, making things work today, but also strategic. Where do we want to go? What do we want to look like in the future? And what are those things, whether it's 6 months from now or next year or 2 years from now, that is going to make shipping easier and more effective for the marketplace?
Because the carrier environment itself is constantly changing, and we have to stay on top of that. That can't be easy all the time.
You know, it's not. The U.S. Market here, I think, is fortunate. We've got really three big carriers. I think you alluded to them earlier: USPS, FedEx, and UPS. And they're stable. They all offer good service, but it's a tricky environment. And certainly in the last handful of years, as e-commerce and online shopping has continued to grow, their networks have become more complicated. Having things delivered home to home, which we're really seeing now during COVID, creates complexities in and of itself. So we work closely with them and trying to keep up with the changing landscape, for sure.
How has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted the way you and your team work together? Has it been a hindrance, or have you been able to continue working as smoothly as normal?
Yeah, look, it's certainly keeping us busy, right? But I think the reality for us is our team really in the entire eBay organization is here for times like this, right? COVID's a challenge, and so we need to work day in and day out on making sure our sellers and our buyers are happy during this time of COVID, trying to make things easy or easier for them in a very difficult time, just like we would do in normal ones. So we've been balancing, frankly, COVID-related issues and also trying to keep a real focus on, the 2020 initiatives, if you will, the normal run the business things, the strategic things that we want to do that are going to impact the rest of this year and 2021.
Speaking of those strategic things, what are some of them that you can talk about, for example, issues or products or services which your team is working on remotely right now?
Sure. So again, I think I mentioned our team's focused on both domestic and international shipping. And so when we start thinking about the things that we can do in the space, we really think about all of those actions through what we call four lenses. Number one, how do we make shipping simpler? Just make it easier to ship. Secondly, reducing the cost of shipping and the economics of that. Third would be the speed of delivery. And then fourth, we think about reliability, not just someone says it's going to get there in 3 days, but how frequently does it really get there in 3 days? So those four lenses. And so let me give you a couple of examples of things that we've done this year that our community may have seen already. In January, we announced lower ground rates for our community from FedEx that are really cost competitive rates in their home delivery and commercial ground network. And we also introduced FedEx nationwide 2-day delivery product that's really incredibly well priced for transactions that are under 10 pounds. So you think about a nationwide 2-day delivery from FedEx under 10 pounds. So really some neat things there. On the international side, we also launched a new international service called eBay International Standard Delivery, which is a delivery service that ships to about 170 countries and territories. It's built and managed by eBay, and it's, when you look at it, it's really speed-wise competitive or faster than the post office. It's less expensive than postal services, and it's more reliable. And we offer seller protections in place with that service. So those are a couple of things I think sellers would have seen this year, and we'd love people to take a look at as the year moves on.
So, the sellers have asked me, by the way, what's the major difference in the consideration from a seller's point of view when we have global shipping program and we have this new international standard delivery program? How are they different, and when should one be used?
Yeah. So the primary difference between the two, and it gets a little bit technical, but one is what's called the delivered duty paid solution. The other is what's called the delivered duty unpaid. The GSP solution, Global Shipping Program, is a delivered duty paid. The buyer will pay the duties and taxes that might be charged by the destination customs office upfront. And in the DDU product, which is the EISD, there's no duties and taxes that are charged in advance. Oftentimes there's none charged at all, but if the product's of a value that they need to be charged, it would be the buyer's responsibility at the time of delivery to pay for this.
Right. Yeah. I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But the rates for the new international standard delivery are competitive with regular rates for international shipping.
They're actually more competitive, to be honest, Griff. And it's one of the reasons why we built the program. There's been a lot of challenges in the international shipping space in the last year between governments and post offices. We built this to try to take the noise of that out of it for sellers. It's a service that brings speed, reliability, and lower cost in the DDU world. So it's a really great product. We encourage everyone to take a look at it.
I imagine that your team is always in close contact with the three major carriers that we talked about: FedEx, UPS, and USPS. What are some of the topics of discussion that you're having with these carriers at the moment?
So obviously COVID related, and I'd say we from the very outset have been in touch with all three: USPS, UPS, and FedEx. In fact, we talk with each of the three, or all three of them, daily. As you know, they've been declared essential businesses, critical to the economy, critical to the COVID response, and so they're all very, very much open for business, very much operational. They've been pretty consistent from the outset in this. Their performance is largely in line with what we saw pre-COVID. I'll come back to that here in a minute, but the thing for these three, I think we should all remember, is no different than the rest of us. Most important for them is protection, health protection for their employees and for their own network. And so they're really cognizant of that, what they're doing with sanitizing and cleansing and just making sure their teams are safe. And we need them to do that, right? We need their networks to remain operational. They're working with state and federal officials every day to make sure they can continue driving a great service. And so what do those networks look like today specifically?
Yeah.
Just in the last week or so, Griff, as COVID and the number of areas and stay-at-home, shelter-in-place areas have grown, more and more online shopping taking place, almost all of it, right? Other than grocery and some other things. So the networks are really operating at with a lot of packages in it, almost near peak capacities. As you can imagine, you'd see a movement to home delivery from commercial deliveries.
Mm.
And so the carriers have had to adjust their networks to accommodate those changes. And to a large degree, they're still performing well while it's getting pretty crowded out there. The benefits are there's not much traffic on the streets, and so their retail drop-off locations are open. Their hub and sort centers are open. Those ground networks that carry all the packages and the airlines are all operating. Final mile delivery in place, but with the continued growth in online shopping, it is absolutely getting more crowded in their networks.
Yeah, I found just personally, mostly with USPS, by the way, because that's the majority of the items on eBay that I purchase that's the shipping they're offering. I'm finding no delays at all in shipping service to home, which has really been beneficial during this period of time because there's things that come up you really need. I can get them on eBay fast. I find that if I try to get them at this other place, their delivery times have been pretty extended. Can you talk a little bit about that, or is that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's out there in the press, right? That other guy has talked about having to extend delivery windows for most of the products that they're offering.
Yeah, sometimes up to 2 or 3 weeks, which seems really long to me.
It is a long time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a long time. On the flip side, we've been able to hold our delivery windows in place. Our on-time percentage is really pretty strong. And as I said, we're looking at this. We want to make sure in all cases we're protecting our buyers, the buyer experience, protecting our sellers.
Mm-hmm.
If we see anything in the network that changes that would cause us to have to add a day or two here for deliveries, we'll take those steps. We haven't had to do so to date, but we don't by any means envision or see 2-3 weeks where that's just not in the cards for us. And as I said, we've not had to do anything to date. So it's been a great story for everyone.
Yeah. Go eBay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I know there's always a sense of discretion here because we never want to open the kimono too much, but there's a lot of interest with sellers because they want to know what they can learn about what's on the horizon. Are there any things on the horizon that the shipping team is looking at that you can talk about right now? Whatever it comes to, like labels or shipping services.
Sure. So let's start with those things. Right, there's a lot on our minds, and we're working on a lot of things. Again, in that time frame of what can we do that impacts today, and also knowing some of the things just take a while, and it's going to be 6 months, a year, 18 months before they really have a big impact. But we're going to continue working on carrier solutions. I talked before about a little bit what we've done with FedEx this year. Again, bringing great prices and faster service to the space. You talked about seeing a lot of USPS. They do great work for us. FedEx is an alternative to that, right? That brings a really high degree of reliability. So we're going to continue to work on things like that. People may notice on our labels platform, there's one other big carrier out there in the U.S. here that's not on our labels platform, and we think that's probably something that we should correct, and we're working on that now. We think bringing more options to our sellers and creating a real competitive environment is important. So we'll continue to do that. We know that first mile, getting the packages into the networks of these carriers for our sellers, it's not always easy. The post office offers a free pickup service and an extensive postal network. We want to bring more understanding of that network to our sellers. FedEx and UPS have, beyond just FedEx office and UPS stores, they've got a pretty extensive retail network where we can drop off packages. Walgreens, CVS, Dollar General, those types of places being used even more during COVID. And so, like, creating that awareness and then making it easy for our sellers to inject packages into those networks is something that's really top of mind for us. Tracking, important to everybody in the delivery experience, whether it's the seller, the buyer. We're looking at ways to improve tracking make tracking easier and more affordable. And then I guess I'd also talk a little bit about just messaging, right? Our sellers work really hard and do a great job providing delivery service. Upwards of 70% of our packages get delivered in 3 days
Yeah.
already. We don't always do a great job of messaging that to our buyers, though, right? It's not as clean as it could be. It's not as consistent. And so we're working with our product partners on how do we just display delivery dates better and really reflect what our sellers are able to do.
That would be great. That would be as a buyer, I would love that. As a seller, I would love it.
Right. And I guess the last thing I'd say, even in the international space, while I talked about what we did with eBay International Standard Delivery, we still think that shipping internationally is a challenge. You start thinking about customs paperwork, and you talked about duties before. What do I got to do with duties? And right, that's still too difficult for a lot of sellers to have to manage. Shouldn't have to. So we're looking to continue to make international shipping easier and therefore make international selling easier. So, those are a handful of things that are on our minds and things that we're currently working on.
That's terrific. Hey, I wanted to ask before we go, Stuart, do you sell on eBay? And if so, what?
So, Griff, I guess I would be considered a true casual C2C seller.
Mm-hmm.
Before joining eBay, which I did just about 2.5 years ago, I didn't do much of any online selling or buying. And since joining, I've done more of it. And I'll tell you, it's interesting from even from a buyer perspective, the things that I buy, my family's not buying on eBay. For me to really experience as a buyer what our buyers experience and what our sellers are able to do, I've had some positive experience and some negative experiences with shipping on eBay, and that's really made it personal in the work that we're trying to do. And the whole team is very involved on their own and buying and selling, just so we can help feel what our community's feeling and try to make changes accordingly.
That's cool. Well, Stuart, I want to thank you so much. I know even though you're working from home like the rest of us, we're still very busy. And in fact, in some respects, even busier because we have the distractions of family and home life as well. So thank you for taking the time out today to talk to us about shipping.
Griff, thank you, and appreciate it to all of our buyers and sellers out there. Go eBay.
Go eBay. Stuart Reichenbach is the Senior Director of North America Shipping here at eBay. Now, to learn more about the products and services that eBay offers sellers when it comes to shipping, you really should visit the eBay Seller Center at ebay.com/Seller Center, and then all of the shipping information you can find in the Seller Hub there. You just have to follow the links. You should do this. There's a lot you may learn. Thanks.